Hello, our mighty Saurus and Sora. It is a nice day to learn about fossils, dinosaurs, and prehistoric creatures, isn't it? My name is Ava, and I will be your companion on the journey to explore the wonderful ancient world. In the previous video with Brian, we've just decoded the myth of the Magdeburg unicorn, a weirdly failed reconstruction from the 18th century that became world famous overnight thanks to a tweet. Interestingly, the Magdeburg unicorn is not the only failed reconstruction to gain fame in history. Ironically, the creature itself, which was poorly reconstructed, was almost forgotten in the vast repository of human knowledge until one of its inaccurate but funny reconstruction was discovered, turning it into a phenomenon admired by many. Today, let's delve into a similar case. A fish that lived over 470 million years ago, discovered and announced in the late 1980s, but only became known to us in 2022 thanks to a dumb reconstruction. That fish is Sacabambaspis. Are you ready? Let's begin. "470 million years ago, during the Ordovician period, life was still booming in the oceans following the Cambrian explosion, dominated by mollusks and arthropods. Meanwhile, the first land plants were forming, possibly evolving from green algae. Fish continued to evolve, with the first jawed fish appearing by the end of the Ordovician. However, jawless fish were still abundant, including our main character today, Sacabambaspis. At that time, Earth had almost a single large continent, known as the supercontinent Gondwana. Along the edges of this continent, in shallow waters, there were relatively rich ecosystems with brachiopods, arthropods, cephalopods, and fish. Swimming in the relatively mild waters of the mid-Ordovician was a fish we now call Sacabambaspis, although its appearance might be quite different from the images circulating on social media. In fact, Sacabambaspis is not a new name in paleontology. The first fossils of this fish were discovered in the 1980s in the village of Sacabamba in Cochabamba province, Bolivia, South America. Paleontologists studied and officially announced that these fossils belong to an unknown jawless fish species dating back 470 million years. They named it Sacabambaspis, combining the village name with aspis, meaning shield, referring to the plates covering the fish's body. Hence, we have the scientific name Sacabambaspis, which sounds quite impressive. At the excavation site, scientists discovered up to 30 different Sacabambaspis specimens concentrated in a small area. To explain this phenomenon, scientists believe it was a mass death, possibly due to a large storm bringing too much fresh water from inland rivers to the shallow sea area where the Sacabambaspis fish gathered, ultimately leading to their collective demise. Additionally, fossils likely belonging to other Sacabambaspis species have been found in various countries that were once part of the Gondwana continental margin, such as Australia, Argentina, and Oman on the Arabian Peninsula. The discovery in Oman even proves that Sacabambaspis, despite its small and harmless appearance, was extremely successful with a wide distribution range, not limited to the southern part of Gondwana, but extending to other areas as well. Based on fossils, paleontologists estimate Sacabambaspis was about 25 centimeters long, or if you're a Harry Potter fan, you can convert Sacabambaspis' length to inches for easier reference, 9 3/4 inches. The shape of Sacabambaspis might remind us of giant tadpoles because they had a slightly oversized head, a somewhat flattened body, a wiggling tail, and no dorsal, pelvic, or pectoral fins. Unlike modern fish, their eyes were entirely at the front of the head, facing forward like car headlights. In the middle of Sacabambaspis' face were two small nostrils, combined with the eyes and a perpetually open mouth due to the lack of jaws, creating a rather bewildered expression as if it had just witnessed something horrifying. As the name suggests, Sacabambaspis' head was protected by a large dorsal plate, curving slightly in the middle, and a deeply curved ventral plate. This head armor was decorated with characteristic oak leaf or teardrop-shaped nodules. Connecting the dorsal and ventral plates covering the head were gill plates, covering the gill area of the fish. The rest of the body behind the head armor was covered with belt-like scales. Sacabambaspis' tail was formed by large skin membranes and an extended lobe. This tail structure differed from the symmetrical tail structure of fish in the subclass Heterostraci, which also belonged to the jawless fish class Pterospidomorphae. And, of course, we can't forget Sacabambaspis' mouth. They were jawless fish, meaning that although they had a mouth, they lacked movable upper and lower jaws, so their mouth had to remain open 24/7. To compensate for the lack of jaws and aid in swallowing prey more easily, Sacabambaspis had about 60 long, slender plates under its mouth, likely capable of movement to increase suction. Additionally, to hunt effectively and defend against predators, they probably possessed a sensory structure called the lateral line organ, still present in modern fish, helping them detect movements in the water, indicating the direction and distance of those movements. Okay, basically, Sacabambaspis is an extinct ancient fish, not large or scary, announced in 1986 and almost forgotten among countless other species, possibly unknown to anyone except scientists for over 3 decades. So how did this friend become a social media phenomenon in the past 2 years? This is the interesting part. It all started on August 30th, 2022, when a Twitter user named Cat Turk, while visiting the Finnish Museum of Natural History in Helsinki, saw a very interesting specimen, a fish with bulging eyes and a mouth that seemed to be forcing a smile, creating an incredibly awkward and dumb expression. Cat wrote briefly with a picture. Absolutely dying. The post quickly attracted over 100,000 likes and hundreds of comments. A year later, the Japanese joined in and elevated the viral status of the Finnish Sacabambaspis specimen to a new level. A Japanese online magazine specializing in interesting animals, Epinisis, published an article about this model along with a Twitter post, attracting hundreds of thousands of likes. The popular Japanese messaging app Line even created a sticker set for this model, alongside thousands of memes and fan art created by users. They also transliterated Sacabambaspis' name into Japanese as Sacabambapasu, where Saka means slope, ban means truck, basu means bus, and paisu means peace. From an almost unknown fish, within 2 years, thanks to the Finnish reconstruction, Sacabambaspis became a famous name loved by many, even having a plush toy version for those who adore its unbearable cuteness. This cuteness is called Yurachara in Japanese, often referring to cute mascots with simple designs. A fun song about Sacabambaspis was even composed in Japanese and translated into many other languages. That said, the Finnish Sacabambaspis model is scientifically inaccurate. But before criticizing, let's understand the story behind it. According to Epinisis magazine, the model's creator was Estonian female paleontologist Elga Mark-Kurik. She was a paleontologist, but had no experience creating models of ancient creatures. However, in 1994, the museum needed to organize a paleontology exhibition, and since no one else could create the models, Elga had to take on the task. The budget was so low that Elga had to buy materials from discount stores. Sacabambaspis' eyes were made from toy eyes, typically attached to cheap dolls. Most of these models were made from foam. If you think Sacabambaspis alone isn't enough to overload you with cuteness, check out the Samolepis model by the same author. Elga was born in 1928 and passed away in 2016. When she created these models, she was in her 70s, so her dedication is truly admirable. And thanks to these scientifically inaccurate but adorable models, lesser-known ancient creatures like Sacabambaspis became more widely known, similar to how scientifically inaccurate T-Rex versions in movies or comics inspired a generation of children to be fascinated by ancient life. When this generation grows up, they will make new discoveries that help us understand these creatures better. Meanwhile, models like Sacabambaspis will become part of history. That concludes today's video. Our team is very grateful for your time and attention. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us for updates on new videos. For now, goodbye and see you in our next videos.